All right, today we are digging into one of the most fascinating gods in the entire Roman pantheon, mainly because he is so uniquely Roman. He has no Greek counterpart, and understanding him, well, it's like finding the key to the entire Roman mind. You know how it usually works, right? When we think of Roman gods, we're almost always thinking of their Greek inspirations. The Romans were masters of adoption. They saw the Greek pantheon and basically said, yep, we'll take that. So their Jupiter is basically Zeus, Mars is Ares, and Juno is Hera. It was kind of like a big theological merger. But then there's this guy, Janus. He's one of their oldest, most important gods, and when you look for his Greek equivalent, there's nothing. A big question mark. He's 100% Roman made. So what's the deal with him? To get the answer, we have to go back, way back. And I don't just mean to the founding of Rome. No, we have to go back to the beginning of everything. We're talking before the other gods even showed up. Okay, first up, the architects of chaos. So forget all the soap opera drama and family squabbles on Mount Olympus. Janus's origin story is on a completely different level. It's the story of the universe being born. I mean, listen to this. This is a quote from the god himself, talking through the poet Ovid. He says, "The ancients called me chaos." He's basically telling us that before he had a name or a face, he was just the raw stuff of existence, the formless, messy potential of everything all at once. So his first act, his first real job, was to bring order to that mess. He untangled the universe, separating hot from cold, light from heavy. And in doing that, he created the very first threshold, the first doorway between different realms. And those two faces, they're a leftover from his original form, a formless sphere that could see in every direction at once. And this is what earned him the incredible title Divam Deus, the God of Gods. Now, hold on, that doesn't mean he was the boss. Jupiter was still the king, the CEO. But Janus had the keys to the entire building. He was the gatekeeper. Even Jupiter couldn't just come and go as he pleased. He had to go through Janus. It's a classic Roman idea. Procedure comes before power. But okay, that's the big, cosmic, philosophical version. The Romans had another story about Janus, a completely different one that was much more human and down to earth. And what is so fascinating is that the Romans were totally fine holding both of these ideas at the same time. On one hand, you have this deep, priestly theology of Janus as chaos, and on the other, you have this popular legend of him as a mortal king. They didn't see a contradiction. They saw two sides of the same truth. In this popular story, Janus isn't some cosmic force. He's a person, an ancient king who lived in early Rome. And he's a total culture hero, the guy who gave people laws, taught them how to farm, and even invented money. He basically single-handedly dragged humanity into civilization. Probably his most famous act as king was when he welcomed the god Saturn. Now, Saturn had just been overthrown by his son Jupiter and was basically a refugee. But instead of turning him away, King Janus opened his doors and shared his kingdom. This story became a powerful parable for the Romans, a lesson that you grow stronger by welcoming outside knowledge, not by isolating yourself. And as a thank you gift, Saturn gave Janus his second face. So in this version, the two faces aren't a leftover from being a ball of chaos, they're a gift. The gift of prudence. The wisdom to see the past and the future at the exact same time so you can make the absolute best decision in the present. Okay, so this dual nature of looking forward and backward, of beginnings and endings, it all gets a physical home, a small but incredibly powerful shrine right in the heart of the Roman Forum, which acted like a political barometer for the entire state. The rule for this shrine was simple. Its gates were wide open whenever Rome was at war, and they were bolted shut in times of peace. But what that actually meant, well, that was up for debate. Were the closed gates meant to keep their divine protector inside the city? Or were they meant to keep a terrible demon locked up? The poet Virgil had a much darker take. For him, peace wasn't some gentle, passive state, not at all. Peace was an active, violent struggle. It was the act of wrestling down the demon of civil strife and chaos, a being called Furor, and locking him behind those bronze gates while he screamed and roared to get out. And this number, this just says everything you need to know about the reality of Roman life. In the first 700 years of their history, those gates of peace were closed exactly twice. Just 2 times. For 7 centuries, war was the normal state of affairs. That is precisely why it was such a massive propaganda victory when the Emperor Augustus came along and closed the gates 3 separate times. He was making a huge statement. He was telling the entire world, I have ended the centuries of chaos. I have chained the demon. The golden age is back, and I brought it. So let's bring this all home. Why was Janus a Roman original? Because he wasn't just another deity on a long list. He was the key to their entire philosophy, their whole operating system.
He basically embodies the core programming of the Roman mind, this obsession with beginnings. How you start something determines its entire fate. The idea that order requires strong, guarded boundaries, that proper procedure is more important than raw power, that true wisdom means looking both backward and forward, and that peace isn't a gift. It's something you have to actively fight to contain.
So in the end, Janus was never really the god of doors. That's way too simple. He was the god of the threshold, of the transition itself, that sacred, anxious, powerful moment of passing from one state to another, from peace to war, from past to future, from chaos into cosmos. And that kind of leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about, doesn't it? If Janus is all about the wisdom of connecting the past to the future, what are the gates in our own world that we don't realize need both a careful opening and a deliberate closing?